Call the meeting to order. Silent prayer. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please. Mrs. Franks?
Mayor Kindle.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Costantino.
Present.
Councilwoman Lyons.
Present.
Councilwoman Pies.
Present.
Councilwoman Sawicki.
Here.
Councilwoman Williams.
Present.
Councilman Tucson.
Present.
Acting City Manager Szymanski.
Here.
And City Attorney DeWally.
Here.
Okay.
All right. So, according to the agenda, we were supposed to have a presentation for the swearing in of the public service officers, and it's been postponed. So, we will move on to the next one with the approval of minutes, and I need a motion.
Madam Mayor,
Councilwoman Sawicki.
I'll offer a motion to approve, receive, and file the regular city council meeting held September 8th, 2021, and to receive and file the beautification commission meeting held September 9th, 2021.
Support.
Support by
Several
Pies.
I think it was Constantino.
Constantino. Okay, discussion? Is there any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion carries. Okay, public comment on the agenda items only, and that's 3 minutes at the max. Is there anyone that wants to speak on the agenda as being presented? Okay, seeing none, let's move on to the table and pending items. There's no action needed. So,
Madam Mayor,
yes.
can I ask a question about the table and pending items at this point? Do we know when we are going to be pulling that off of the table? I mean, I know that, there's been some discussion about allowing it to go to the subcommittee of the council, and allowing, it to be talked about in the ordinance committee. Is that what we're waiting for, or is there something else that we need to do?
Sure.
Sharon?
If I may,
Please.
yes, what we're waiting for is to have it go back to the ordinance committee because it needed some more discussion, some items to be filled in, and after it comes out of the ordinance committee, then it can be removed from the table for council consideration.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
A blast from the past. Wow, okay. All right, and so, the consent agenda, I need a resolution.
Madam Mayor,
Yes,
I'll offer the
Councilwoman.
resolution to approve the consent agenda, items 1 through 4.
Support. Support by Councilwoman Williams. Discussion?
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Councilwoman Lyons.
just a quick question. So with the new appearance invoice here, just a little curious about what's going on with so many houses on Kingsville and Kenosha that are in need of grass. Is that vacant property or elderly who perhaps can't do these services, or what exactly is happening here? And that's invoice number 27251.
I would,
Bill Snyder.
yeah, Bill, I could explain this, but you could probably sum it up in a few words.
Right.
Yeah, good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. When I send people out to write violation notices, typically they start on Kingsville and they work their way north, and I will have people on the east side of the freeway doing the same thing. So at this particular snapshot in time, I had people start on Kingsville, and then things directions changed at the DPW with personnel, so we only got to tag a few streets in that section of town.
Thank you, Mr. Snyder.
Are there any further discussion? Hearing none, seeing none. Roll call vote. Mrs.
Okay.
Franks?
Yep. Mayor Pro Tem Costantino.
Yes.
Councilwoman Lyons.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pies.
Yes.
Councilwoman Sawicki.
Yes.
Councilman Tucson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Williams.
Yes.
Mayor Kindle.
Yes.
Okay, resolution passes.
Okay, that moves us to old business, which is none. And we'll go to new business, the city manager report.
Nothing to report, Mayor,
Oh, my goodness.
for a change.
Okay.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Councilwoman Lyons.
can I use this moment to make a motion to add an item to the agenda?
That,
That would require 3 votes. Is it all?
add an item to the agenda. Are we privy to what your item was before we got it to the table?
To postpone the selection of the city manager until after the November election, especially considering we have pending litigation, and/or that the selection of the applicants be open to all city council members for review and consideration.
I'll support that motion.
Okay. Huh?
It takes 3 votes to add something to the agenda.
I didn't understand.
It takes 3 votes to add something to the agenda.
So, we have 2 people that want to add to the agenda. Is there anyone in support of that?
I support.
You support it also? Okay. So then it's added to the agenda.
Could you repeat that, please?
Now repeat.
To postpone the selection of the city manager until after the November election due to pending litigation,
Litigation has nothing to do with it.
and to add that the selection of applicants for city manager be open to all of council to review and consider.
Would you explain why it's not open to all city council members at a time? That's why we have always had subgroups?
Yeah.
Since open meeting?
To narrow down the applicants to the 2 top qualified. We've always done this process in the past. No need to change or stray from it in the future.
Also, if we open it up to all of us, that it's an open meetings thing, so everyone would have an opportunity to weigh in or not weigh in, whether it be residents or just city council members.
Yes,
right?
this, with the selection process now, it gets narrowed down to 2 candidates, and council can be free to ask all the questions they want, and then select their choice at that point.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Councilwoman
I
Constantine.
believe that I am the only person here with, on the council with human resources, education, and experience.
Not
And-
true.
No, not
true.
true.
The only council member with a
No, you're
master's
not.
in human resources?
No, you're not the only one.
Okay, well, then maybe there's another person as well. But, I don't know, I feel like if you narrow it down to 2 candidates, we might be missing out on somebody who might be a good candidate, and we don't know what your selection criteria is. It's also a little touchy because with the impending election, you have 2 people that are up for reelection on the committee. And so we don't know who's gonna be elected and who isn't, but that might put things in a weird spot. If somebody isn't elected, that's selecting the candidate. I would be able, or I'd be willing to either, I'll throw out some other options. Number 1, that a wider pool is selected, maybe narrowed down to 4 or 5 candidates that we can choose from. Number two, that the people on the committee, I mean, I don't know, I can see this as a conflict of people who are up for election, it could turn into something political. And so I don't know that it should be, you know, I just think right now is kind of a bad time, right before an election. And so I think postponing it till after the election is probably a better choice.
Okay, you need a motion.
And I understand, I mean, Ms. Williams, she's not up for election, so I don't see any conflict of interest with her, but I think this is just going to be super political.
Well, then that would be with anything else. We need a motion.
I'm sorry, were we about to make a motion to add it to the agenda, or shall
We
may I
will
speak?
make the motion to add it to the agenda. So they have
But
three
we didn't
votes
vote on
that said that they can add it to the agenda. So we make a motion to add it to the agenda. Is that correct, Sharon?
That is correct. You add it to the agenda, and then once it's added to the agenda, then you open it for discussion.
And after we add it to the agenda, then we can have discussions.
So point of clarification, Madam Mayor, are we at a point right now where it's already on the agenda or not? Because I don't recall voting on it.
Right. So we're at a point right now where we're going to vote as to add it to the agenda,
Okay.
and then we'll go from there for discussion.
But do we need 3 people to vote on it, to add it to the agenda?
Yes, you
3
did.
people to bring it forward?
Yes.
Yes.
That's correct.
So then is it on the agenda if 3 people?
You've had 3 people vote on it.
Mhm.
And then, so then we
and it's
ask
added
the
to the
question.
agenda. Add it to the agenda, and
And
then you
vote.
open it for discussion, correct, Leslie?
Right.
Well, they have to, I think it has to be voted.
Well,
It has to be.
It
But
doesn't
it's only
make
a
sense that we
3-count vote.
need 3 people to support it being on the agenda and then we have to vote on it again. That doesn't make sense.
It's a charter.
That doesn't,
Well,
so
generally.
we could defer to Robert's rules for that.
I think it's only a matter of form. You vote, and you only need 3 votes to add it to the agenda.
That's per
Okay,
charter.
so we vote, and if 3 people vote to add it to the agenda, then it's on the agenda.
Yes.
Okay,
So
very well.
is it on the agenda at this time then?
Now it's time
Okay.
for discussion.
Madam Mayor?
We didn't vote yet.
Yes, Councilwoman?
You gave the third
You
vote
gave
to
the
have
third
it on
vote.
the agenda.
I understand that, but what Councilwoman Constantino was saying was, we had 3 people to say yes to add it to the agenda, and then do we still have to vote to add it to the agenda?
No, then you vote on what her motion is on the agenda
Right,
item.
because it's on the agenda. With the 3 of you
So right
voting
now it's on
to
the
put it on the agenda,
we
it
can
is
discuss it.
on the agenda now. Okay? So, now, let's open it up for discussions.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Councilwoman Page.
I was privileged to sit on, or be part of the panel or committee, if you will, in 2017. At that time, the city had received 50 applications for the deputy city manager position. And then city manager, Mr. Skatarczyk, and I reviewed them, pulled some out, switched them, pulled some more out. We narrowed it down to 10 applicants then. Those 10 were invited to come in for an interview by a separate committee. And as I recall, 2 of them did not show up on the one day, or 1 didn't show up on one day, and then 2 didn't show up. Anyway, it turned out that 5 of them never showed up, and only 2 of them had told us they weren't going to show up. So it was narrowed down to 5, and at that time, then the committee went and interviewed those candidates.
Right.
And then 2 were presented to all of council and had their interview in front of the audience.
Right.
So there is a precedence, if you will, of having just 2 brought before council. So my understanding is that's what's going on right now with this. Second, I don't believe pending litigation has any, I don't understand its point on here unless our previous city manager has some intentions that we're not aware of in some way. So I think that should be to the side. As for waiting until the new election, until the next election, I'm thinking this is appropriate because everyone here has some experience with a city manager or an acting city manager. If we wait until after the election, there's a very good chance that we may have several people on the council who have no experience on council and don't yet understand what we need to look for or ask in a new city manager. So I think with all of us being experienced here, it behooves us to have someone, and also we've been without a city manager since, well, the last few months, and so it really behooves us to find a new city manager, get that person up to speed, be able to have that person get up the new council to speed, and also have our current acting city manager go back to being his director of finance, which he's still doing essentially part-time, or essentially doing both jobs. So I think for all of those reasons, it makes sense for us to just go on as now, because if we look at both, if we have the reasoning being pending litigation and then we have the reason needing a new council, then those two just don't jibe with each other. It should be one or the other reasoning behind it, I think. Anyway, at this point, I feel it's necessary to move on as we have planned, and I think the choice in the committee is fine. We have a man on it, our only councilman, who is Councilman Toussaint, and then also we have our Councilwoman Regina Williams, who has been on council for 2 years, and she's been new, so she understands what goes into a city manager position. I feel like right now it's the appropriate time to just move ahead with this. Thank you.
And is there any further discussion?
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Councilwoman Williams.
Yeah, I would like to add just a couple of things. One, right now, our council, I think the minimum person who's been on council right now is Mr. Toussaint. It's the newest one. And he's been here at least over a year, I think. Mr. Toussaint, you've been here over a year, right?
About that, yes.
Yeah. So our whole council do have some experience with a city manager, knowing what the city manager's job entails. If we wait till November, there's a good possibility that the council will change over. There might be different people. And those new people would have, some of them may have no experience in knowing what a city manager's job does. So I think the experience we have will make the selection okay, because we do know, we have some experience as what's going on for city manager. But the other thing about maybe widening the pool to 4 or 5 candidates for the council to interview, I don't see any problem with that. Instead of narrowing it down to 2, if it's narrowed down to 4, and the council want to interview 4, I don't see a problem with that at all.
Madam Mayor, if
Yes,
I may,
Councilwoman
I think that people brought up some good rationale for going ahead with this process. I would also be concerned that candidates who may have put in an application are not expecting to wait all that long to hear back from the city if we're interested in their, candidacy. And so I'm afraid we might lose some candidates that might be good fits for our community. I too wondered about seeing 4, candidates, and the only concern that I would have, because I think it would be fine, in my opinion, to interview 4 people, but I know in the past, when we've had a number of candidates to select from for city council, it got to be a very long and drawn-out process. And that's my one concern, is that if we have 4 candidates, all of whom have, been vetted by this subcommittee of council and they come before us, it could become a very long and laborious and, you know, difficult process. And so I trust the 4 people who have been selected, or the 3, you know, the people who are selected on our subcommittee right now, to weed through the candidates, to give us a good understanding. You know, they're asking questions of these candidates. And even though, sure, I'd love to be on that committee and, you know, ask all kinds of questions to the candidates, I'm sure I have to trust that the people that are on that subcommittee are doing what's needed to be done. And so if I'm presented with 2 candidates and I have to make a selection between those 2 people, I will be asking questions here at the council table of those 2 people, as will all of us. You know, and that's 7 people asking people questions. And so I think the process is a good one, you know. So that's my thought.
Madam Mayor?
Is there any further discussion?
Yes, Madam Mayor?
There's someone that hasn't
Okay.
spoken already. Councilwoman Constantino?
Yes, I mean, if it's true, and I did hear that quite a few candidates didn't show up,
It is true.
wouldn't we want more candidates to choose from? Because if you guys select 4 and only 2 of them show up, that gives us at least 2 people to choose from. I believe last time what happened was, the way we ended up with Mr. Raker was he was the only one who went through the whole system.
No, that's
There
incorrect.
was somebody else
Oh,
There was-
that was
there were
chosen,
4 or
but
5
that
people.
person declined.
No.
It
No,
was
she
still
was-
2.
We had
It was 2 people.
2 that came
Yes,
before
a
us.
man and a woman, I mean, I believe I was there when she called our former
No.
city manager and basically declined.
No,
No.
that was not the case. We had 2 people here for the deputy.
The interview.
For the
And,
interview.
It was Mr. Raker and another young lady from,
I believe she's from Oak Park.
Park, yeah.
So
think she was the mayor pro
those were
tem
the
there.
final 2 that we, as city council, had an opportunity to
Question.
interview and vet that day.
Yeah, that's true. That is true, but then, at some point, she did call in and
No,
back
No.
up
you're
after the
thinking
fact.
about somebody
No.
totally different. You're thinking about
Uh,
someone totally different. That was not the lady that interviewed with Mr. Raker.
Right.
The
Madam-
other lady was a lady from MML, and
Correct.
she chose to stick with MML because they decided to give her a better job.
Okay.
Madam Mayor? I'm
Yes.
sorry, are you finished?
Excuse me?
Well, I'm
Uh,
just saying that having a few more people wouldn't, I don't think that having to interview 3 or 4 people are gonna take forever. That's not a lot of people to interview for the group. I mean, when we were going through city council, we had, you know, more candidates than that.
That's,
And I believe that they'll probably be more vetted before they get to us than when we were selecting for city council as well.
Madam Mayor?
yes, Councilwoman?
My understanding is that we've only had 10 to 12 applicants, and
That's all.
so we may not necessarily find 4 that we think are worthy of a final interview.
We did
So,
find 4.
so you did find 4, but I'm talking about a final interview in front of council. Also, it seems to me that we've had this job posting for at least a couple of months, and also to speak to Councilwoman Sawicki's concern is that if we have several now, excuse me, who think who we or the committee believes are worthy of an interview, to tell them to wait at least 10 months, or I'm sorry, 2 months and possibly longer, they may very well have found a position elsewhere, or somehow decided that Harper Woods is not for them, or not worth the wait for 2 months to see if they can have a job or not. I'd like to proceed with the interview. If it turns out that we think none of them is worthy, then so be it, and
So be it.
it'll move on from there. But at this point, I see no reason at all to stop it here and say, come back in 2 months.
Madam Chair, I have to agree, but I'm not sure where we are with this point, why the discussion's even gone on. We said litigation, I mean, the previous city manager, I mean, there were a couple of lawsuits against him that were put there, and so I'm not sure why you want to hold it off any longer, because it's time to move on. I mean, I know a lot of people are angry about that, and I can tell because by the tone of this right now, but it's what happened, it's over, so it's the next step now.
Is there anyone else who would like to have any further discussion before we take a roll call vote? Seeing none? So, Mrs. Franks?
It's not a roll call, it's a motion.
Hmm?
So it's a motion, so
So-
it's all in favor.
All in favor?
Could-
Okay.
I'm sorry,
You stay with
So
it.
all in favor of
could you reread?
delay, postponing, the hiring. But you know what, before I do that, John, why don't you speak to the reason that you think that we need to move forward with this? We have a lot of things that you are trying to financially get in order for the city, and you need to
Yeah.
devote that full time.
Here is where we're at, and these are the things that go on, I want to say, in the background. Right now, we got the biggest deal that this city has seen in well over 40 years. It is taking an enormous amount of time, and there's certain things where we're at now of where the city has to go. The city has to develop a Parks and Recreation plan. That's required by the state to get grants. We have to develop a master plan for the city. We have to develop what's called a capital improvement plan for future projects. This is what successful cities do. We have an economic development director working with an intern from Wayne State University that has been financed by the state of Michigan to help facilitate this project. And at the same time, we still have to have a budget in place by November. We still have to meet all the deadlines. And quite frankly, to add a couple of months to this, and because of litigation, no litigation has been filed by our former city manager. That's the truth. So I don't know why these games keep getting played, because that's all it is. We need to move forward. We need to move in a different direction, and we need somebody that can work with the city council, the mayor, and the city administration and all the departments. We do not need chaos. Chaos is not going to get us where we need to go. And quite frankly, this is a step toward chaos and confusion. We have a process in place, and for somebody to come forth right now and to derail it at the last minute shows immaturity, way immaturity. And that's all I have to say, Madam Mayor.
All right. All in favor of postponing the hiring of a new city manager? Say aye.
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 Those opposed?
Me?
Aye.
Nay.
So we have 2 that want to postpone it, and 5 that's for moving forward. So motion carries.
Motion
A
doesn't,
Motion doesn't
denied.
motion is denied.
Okay, let's move on to call the audience. 3 minutes, one time only, and if you're a candidate, only thing you can do is announce your name and your candidacy. We will not entertain your campaign speech, okay? So, been a long time.
And yes, I have had my haircut since. I've been here for about 24 years in Harbor Woods. Thank you very much. And Ms. Mayor, thank you for allowing the gentleman to speak. I think that was very called for, and thank you very much for being so attentive. Ultimately, thanks to everybody, especially my buddy Ken Pointer. He's gone. He used to donate his salaries every year. He's just been one of my favorite people in the world. Even Dan Palmer. He's one of the most people that I've respected all my life. He was always straightforward and caring and what have you. It's a new Harper Woods. I'm glad to see some diversity. We still have some of the same old issues though, and those are, for me, because I've lived on Eastwood for 24 years, and ultimately there still are those, I don't know, boom boxes, bass boxes, whatever, and I mean literally, and it knocks the stuff off the shelves in your house and whatever. Now, I'm an old rock and roller, so seriously.
Excuse me real quick. What's your name?
Michael Dick, I'm sorry, 18575 Eastwood Drive, 24 years.
Thank you.
Thank you, I apologize, I'm getting ahead of myself.
You only got 3 minutes.
With my 3 minutes, yes. So ultimately, yes, thank you so much. I appreciate everything you're doing. If we could honestly get together with the council and the mayor and with our new judge, Rebecca Coleman, and see what we can do about the noise violations in conjunction with the police force and what have you. It's really, really getting to be a problem. Yesterday I called the Harper Woods Police because of a litter issue at the Sunoco station on Kelly and Eastwood. This is not something that is just this week. It's been ongoing for years and years. And my good ex-buddy Bill Snyder knows all about it also. I hate to be a pain in the butt, but this is something that is ongoing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? Step up and give your name.
To the chair, council members, good evening. My name is Mr. Williams. I live on Woodside. Now, a couple of years ago, there was a committee set up for to look into the bylaws or the charter as far as making amendments.
Charter revision.
You have a bylaw committee that's supposed to have been looking into the bylaws.
Ordinance committee?
Okay, yes. Where are you at on
He's talking
that?
about the charter.
The charter.
Oh, for the charter?
Yes.
Yes.
No, we do not. We have not.
Madam Mayor, may I, very quickly?
Huh?
May I very quickly?
Sure.
Yes. We had put together, our city manager, and I believe our city clerk, and someone else, and Mayor Pointer, I believe, we were going to go through our current charter and pull out several, maybe 2 or 3 things that we thought might need to go before the voters during the last election. But our city manager was called to duty, and I think there were a couple of other things that happened before that, so it was postponed. We were not able to review it and look at something and write up language in time for it to get to the ballot. So that's something we would need to do in the future. Thank you.
But you have an acting city manager, and you had about 2 years.
I'm sorry, this was at the end of 2019, and we were to begin work at the beginning of 2020. And our city manager was, as I said, called to active duty in May, and so there was nothing we could do between the beginning of the year and his leaving. There was nothing that we could review, come through, write language that would, I believe it has to be accepted through the county or the state, and get back in time to put on a
Why
ballot.
not?
So that was,
You still had other members on the council. Okay, but you could still look at it. And then when he returned, then bring it to him. So no one lifted a finger to even do that. Am I right?
Where's this going? Excuse me, I'm sorry, Madam Chair, I'm trying to figure out where's this conversation going? You're asking us
I
some
would like to know
questions.
what's going on as far as making amendments to that agenda. The former mayor mentioned that amendments need to be made, so nothing is going on from there.
Well, we don't have.
Well, I got a couple of other issues, but that would be at the next meeting.
I don't understand what the issue is right now.
There were amendments to be made to the charter, and no one is doing anything about it. Okay, if there's a committee that was made, you have a committee and they're not doing anything about it.
Madam Mayor, just one quick thing to say. We are in a position right now where we do not have a city manager. We have an acting city manager, but he is not the city manager. And so we need to get a city manager in place so that we can move forward on some of these issues. Our
I
city
understand
clerk
that.
has retyped the current charter.
I understand that,
Okay.
but the other members, they did not take time out to look at it. This is what I'm saying. No one else took time out to take a look at it, so when you have another city manager come in, or the previous one had returned, you could have brought those issues to him.
We will.
Oh.
I mean, right now, we're at a standstill, and we
You
understand
can
the
still look at
charter.
it. You can still take a look at it. So in other words, you can't even look at it.
Well, thank you.
This is what I'm saying. No one took time out to look at it. I'm quite sure my 3 minutes up. Have a good day.
Well, you do the same.
Hello, Council. My name's Robert Good, and I live on Eastwood also, next to the gas station. And that's one of my big concerns also, the noise there, the trash is really, really bad. There's a lot right next to, in between myself and the gas station, and the trash builds up there. Every time the dumpster is dumped there, trash flies all over the street there. They have a tree and a bush there that the children have to go to school down there, and they can't even walk on the sidewalk there. Myself and Mr. Mike, we have to go out there and cut that. They don't care about it. They have a tree that's hanging over in my yard that I paid myself to have it cut there. The noise is so bad there, my alarm goes off all the time, and I'm quite sure police department knows because they have to come out and walk around my house sometime. So it's a big concern there, and hopefully someone can look into it. Other than that, the police department, I'm really proud of the work that they do. That's all I have for now.
Thank you.
What's his last name? What was his
Is
last
it
name?
Mr. Kadat?
Robert Good.
I'm Mike Kadat, Rockland Street. Just a couple of quick comments. Short-term rentals, this is becoming a problem in Harper Woods. So I hope the ordinance committee can move forward rather quickly on this. My personal opinion is there shouldn't be any allowed at all. And but I realize the state has a little bit to say about this, so I'm not sure what's going on in Lansing regarding to take away the local authority to regulate short-term rentals. I know there's been pressure put on the legislature to abolish city authority over short-term rentals, but I hope that doesn't go through. So I don't think most of us want to live next to a hotel. Okay, so that's about it. The other thing is the state mandate to replace lead water lines. It's my understanding that 5% of the lead water lines need to be replaced per year for the next 20 years. So I was wondering what is, if anything, is going on with this agenda, okay? So, and then the last thing is, I hope when we get some more tax money from Eastland, because right now the taxes in Harper Woods are high, and it's kind of hurting home values in a way, because if you took a 30-year mortgage at roughly 3 and 8%, you'd have about a $650 monthly payment. And so if you bought a $150,000 house, you got $75,000 taxable value. So your taxes would be $5,000 a year. So it would be $6,000 a year. So it's $500 a month on just taxes, and you got a mortgage of $652 or $650. So the taxes are really a high percentage of the mortgage payment. And I think $150,000 is probably a fairly typical value for a number of homes in Harper Woods. So this is hurting, in my opinion, hurting home sales or hurting home values. But I realize that a lot of communities, the gross points are about the same as taxable, about roughly 80 mills all combined. And so, but of course, people are moving to Grosse Pointe are going to have a much higher tax bill because the home values are higher. But still, I would hope that when Eastland finally gets settled, that we could reduce property taxes somewhat. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak?
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Council.
Evening.
I live at 18988 Huntington. My name is Gerald Irvin. I am a candidate for this Harper Woods City Council. But I come up today because I noticed that on Kelly, they put up a traffic sign to kind of work the traffic out, but it's not working. What is the problem? The lights are half off on Kelly. No lights, it's dark, pitch black. When I come home sometime, I see all the dark places up there on Kelly between my street and about maybe 5 other blocks down. The whole area is pitch black, you know. And the kids, when they got out of school, a couple of them almost got hit right there where that's supposed to be traffic signal, where it's supposed, but it's not working. So I don't know why it's not working. And I don't understand why it's not working. The school done started. You got all these kids running up and down Kelly. It's a crosswalk. They just put it up spring. And it should have been running by now, but it's not even running. It's not even working. Then the power lights are off. And I don't know why that's happening. You know, so I think we need to kind of check that out so no kids won't get hurt or killed. Because you know how fast Kelly is sometimes. The speeding is real fast. And especially up and down the community. They're still doing the same thing. You know, the speeders are coming up and down. And I was talking to a neighbor. He said he don't understand why. I told him, I said, well, if you know the city charter, have you read it? He said, no, because he was talking about the ordinance that he got in.
What did
Something
you say?
happened to him.
I didn't hear you.
I said a neighbor was talking about the ordinance that he had got involved with, and I asked him, did he know the city charter? Did he know what goes on in the city? He said, well, the city charter hadn't been changed since 1951. He said, so I told him, I said, well, I'll mention it to him. And, you know, I want to know. So I pulled it up, the city charter off of the Harper Woods places. So people need to be more informed about the city charter so they can understand that the city charter in essence need to be upgraded, need to be changed because it's a more diverse community and things are not like it used to be, you know. So, and my thing is that, and speaking of Kelly, the economic development building is not open. The building that's on Kelly, is it open?
Yeah, the buildings, yes, yeah, that's a city building, it's not meant for public.
Okay.
It's a auxiliary, I want to say, office, meeting place. And we have police there, stationed there at times.
So can it be used as a mini station for?
We're using it, yeah.
It was used as
Yes.
a
It
ministry.
was?
It was.
Well, what about now?
But the former city manager changed that. So we are in the process because we need policemen throughout the city right now, and we don't have enough right now. And I think the police chief public safety director can probably speak more to that to you after the meeting. So
He's right there.
he'll be right there to speak to you after the meeting.
Oh, yeah, I met Mr. Smith.
Okay.
Yeah, but, that's my concern, because our community, it's steady growing, and a lot of people don't know what's going on. Up here at the city council, I invited them myself to come to the meeting so they can get firsthand of what they hear instead of hearsay. So they can come by and speak their opinion, because they, as a community, they need to know what's going on so the hearsay won't be overflowing. Because, people are mad. I just moved over here about 6 years ago, and all I hear is negative talk. So you're gonna hear everybody can't do everything and make everybody happy, but still at the same token, we need to kind of communicate with each other, because it seems like it's a lack of communication, so that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak?
Good evening, Madam Mayor, City Council.
Good evening.
Since my appointment, I've attended the Harper Woods NEDC meetings and become a member of the Crime Reduction and Law Enforcement Committee. In October 2020, we began to present public safety workshops to the residents as part of the committee. There were plans to hold another workshop during Fire Safety Week in 2021 on October 7th from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. The workshop will be limited to 40 attendees and consist of 4 stations where the audience will be broken into small groups, receive 15-minute presentations, and then rotate to another station. The presentations planned included fire extinguisher use, fire safety in the home, fire safety smokehouse, and stop the bleed training, which is tourniquet training. The event would be held outside the fire bays off of Eastwood. However, due to the recent developments with the Harper Woods NEDC and their break from the city affiliation, I've informed the committee that I would need permission from the city management for the Public Safety Department to participate in this event. Therefore, I'm requesting permission from the city to provide volunteer personnel for the presentations and use of the fire department area to conduct the workshop on October 7th, 2021.
All right, thank you very much. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak? All right, seeing none, call the audience. I'm sorry, call the council.
Madam Mayor? Do we need to take a vote or what? This Fire Safety Week program has been in the works for over 2 years, but because of COVID, it got delayed.
It's the public
It's not on the
safety director.
agenda.
We don't have to make a decision. He just made his decision of doing it. That's not for us to decide.
It's not on the agenda.
He's just coming to the council to ask permission, and seeing that there was no discussion, I would think that you have given him permission to host it.
Do you have an objection to it?
Not at all. No, he put a lot of work into it. I hate to see it canceled after 2 years of work on it.
Yeah, I've been involved with it too.
Yes, yeah, a lot of people have been involved with this program.
So how would we, it's not to be voted on.
Madam Mayor.
Yes, Councilwoman Swicki?
All right, just
Okay, wait a minute. So last week, so now we start with Councilwoman Williams, and come on down.
All right, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
I was gonna make a comment about the charter. When I first got on the council, our former mayor did mention that there should be changes done to the charter. And I know throughout those 2 years, I brought it up before about there should have been changes, that we should have the subcommittee. So there was one form before when we had a city manager, but nothing has been done about it. And the point is that in those 2-year times, even without the city manager, we still have acting city manager, we still have very capable council that could have been doing something to amend that charter. I brought it up, Ms. Lyons has brought it up, former councilman Mr. Smith has came to our meetings and brought it up. So it's been brought up several times, but nothing at all has been done. So I'm not sure what we're waiting on. I know you're saying that we're waiting on a new city manager. The point is, after that 2-year frame, we still could have been working on that charter, whether it was with the real city manager or acting, because we still had the council, and that is my point. And also, I think the charter is not since, it hasn't been updated since the 1950s, it's 1970s, I think.
No. I'll clarify it.
Okay. I know it's been quite a few years, so it really do need to be updated because our community has changed. And some of the things that's in that charter is very outdated and really do need to be changed. There should have been something going on within these last 2 years.
Okay, thank you.
I do want to talk about the charter, just to make it clear. The city charter is different from all of our ordinances. The ordinances are what govern how we behave or whatever. You know, they promote the laws of the community and this sort of thing. When it comes to the city charter, any changes that we make to the charter go to the voter.
Right.
In other words, there are 2 methods, and I know I've described this before, but I just want to make it real clear. There are 2 methods for a charter change. The first is to do an entire, if the city decides that we want to do an entire charter change, then we would have to get an elected body, not the city council, but a body of people from the community that are elected by the community that would come together to go through the entire charter. They are paid by the community. We would need to have a lawyer that is outside of our city lawyer who would be paid by the community to govern that process. Once the entire charter would be rewritten, then that entire body of work would need to be published so that everyone in the community could see it. And I believe it would need to be published in some sort of a newspaper or something that would go out to the entire community. That is why when the city of Detroit or other communities decide to do a complete charter overhaul like that, it is multi-million dollars. It is a major fund, problem. The other alternative is what we have done, and that is if we find a particular section of the charter that needs to be changed, then that particular section of the charter is worked on, and then it is brought before the voter. All right, a few years ago, one of the sections of the charter that we wanted to change, and many of you would remember this, is that we wanted to have a complete overhaul of our police and fire department. We wanted to make it a public safety department. That went to the voters on more than one occasion. And then it was over, the alternative to doing it by a voter change was through collective bargaining. And that's how we have the system that we have right now. But any time that a particular section of the charter needs to be changed, it can be changed. But simply we need to rewrite that particular section and bring that section to the voter. So it is not the 70s. It's happened several times. I think that when we came to voters about public safety, that was the 2000s, probably. Yeah. And so every time that we want to make a charter change, we can do it, but we just need to bring it to the voters, and that's true anytime with the charter. All right. And so as far as the charter is concerned, one of the things that we had a little issue with was the fact that we have made changes to the charter periodically, and the charter looked pretty messy. It was hard to read it. We asked our city clerk if she could go through it and clean it up so that the charter would be easier to read, because her copy in the office is the official copy of the charter. And, you know, all of the handwritten notes that have been put in by various city clerks over the many years that Harper Woods existed. And so I believe, and you can correct me, Mrs. Frank, but I believe that that has been done, that you have in fact rewritten, or not rewritten, but retyped it so that it's in a clear copy. And so as far as that's concerned, the moving on a charter change, unless there is some glaring issue, which, you know, I think the most, you know, the one that came up the most recently was the police and fire department. And so, you know, being able to go through that charter itself would be valuable. I think, I don't know if the city has considered putting the charter online, you know, and making that accessible, but it's the overall operating parameters of the community, right? And so I don't know that there's that much. There is stuff that, no, that was ordinances. The charter, though, you know, that's one thing. People talk about charter change, and we have done charter changes, but they have been, you know, through units that needed to be corrected. All right. So, you know, it's not something that is impossible for us to do, right? So we don't have to do the whole 9 yards at once. And that's the intention of getting a committee together, a subcommittee of the council, was to go through the charter and find sections where we might want to bring it to the public's attention, or we might want to correct that particular section. But one thing you should know is that every bit of that charter would be a separate vote. So if we want to change, you know, charter section 1A, that would have to be approved by the state, and then it would have to come to the voters in an election. All right, so there's no charter change that we can do on our own as a council. Everything has to go before the voter. All right, so that's the charter thing. The other thing I wanted to mention is that we received information tonight, or this afternoon, on Narcan training and suicide prevention training. The Family Center of Grosse Pointe in Harper Woods has free events and programs for the community, including on Wednesday, this Wednesday. They're doing a presentation at 7 p.m. Families Against Narcotics is presenting a Narcan training 7 p.m., as I mentioned, at Wayne County Community College. There's also suicide prevention training, which is coming up on September 30th at 7 p.m. via Zoom. And there is information that they presented. I'll try to get that information out, if you haven't seen it already, on Facebook at least. And you have a copy of it, Madam Mayor? Maybe we can post it at the back of City Hall.
I have it posted.
All right, very good. And that's all I have.
Yeah. In fact, she's going to put it on the website.
It's just called the Family Center. So it's the Family Center of Grosse Pointe and Harper Woods.
That serves us for mental health and health.
Correct. FamilyCenterWeb.org.
It'll be on our website.
Sure, it's the old ball center. When you mentioned Wayne County Community College, I was just curious which.
All I know is that the training for Narcan is supposed to take place Wayne County Community College District in Harper Woods, so that's ours.
Okay. At the
There we go. I'm
University
sorry, I
Center.
didn't read enough of it. Thank you.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Councilwoman Grace.
Just quickly, I want to address the charter issue, and Councilwoman Williams concerns. I recall that we had brought this whole thing up in November or December of 2019, and I called up an email dated January 8th, 2020 that I had written to our city manager, Mayor. I can't find the response for it. However, I said that I'd like to discuss soon to talk about the charter amendment requirements, and that I had looked at the Charter Commission amendment booklet on the Michigan Municipal League website, and it seems that there's at least a month to notify the public about the proposed change, then another couple of weeks for something else that I didn't write here. Then it needs to go to the governor for approval, and then it needs to go to other things. So factoring in all those dates that will each be available to meet also could make this a lengthy process. So I understand that we could have looked at something. As I recall, we really needed a city manager's input from the perspective of what he thought was most important at the time, since we can't just go putting a bunch of them on the ballot. So that's why that was taking so long and has taken so long. But I certainly would encourage that with the new city manager that we all get started on this ASAP. And since our then mayor is no longer with us, perhaps we could even select a new committee to work towards that. Also, I wanted to talk about Senate Bill 483. I'm on the Michigan Municipal League Public Services Committee, and we met on Friday after a summer off. And when we meet, we go over pending legislation or legislation that's being put out there. And we've all heard for months now how it's really difficult to recruit officers, how it's difficult to keep officers. Well, this isn't something that's just happening in Harper Woods. It turns out that it's happening throughout the state. And Senator McDonald from District 10 has put forward Senate Bill 483. And it would require a commission be formed to conduct research study and analysis identifying the barriers in the recruitment of law enforcement. So this would be an amendment to the 1965 Public Act 203, which is titled Michigan Commission of Law Enforcement Standards Act. So at the moment, the partial, or the wording of part of it is that no later than March 1st, 2022, and subject to appropriation, the commission would conduct or contract for a research study and analysis to identify barriers in the recruitment of law enforcement officers in order to develop a strategy for attracting and retaining high-quality individuals to serve as law enforcement officers. A research study and analysis conducted pursuant to this section must include, but is not limited to, all of the following, which is public perception of law enforcement, significant job stressors for law enforcement officers, factors that affect the job performance, including gender, race, and other pertinent factors, and character, personality, and other traits. So hopefully this will be approved and pushed through soon, and then we would have a commission formed in March of next year. I don't know how long it would take after a commission is formed to actually have analysis done, but I think my point tonight at least is that this is happening throughout the state, and it's not just Harper Woods being lacking in some way. It's really a difficult time to recruit not just public safety officers, but police officers themselves. So that was one thing I wanted to talk about. The other thing is Harper Woods Public Schools. I have gotten messages from people complaining that one woman received a message from, there are 50 students in her son's 9th grade class. I heard of another one that was 70 students in a class. I'm not sure about that, but that's what I heard. I've had to say to these people that fortunately or unfortunately, City Hall, council, acting city manager, any city manager, mayor, we're all unable to do anything. The city and the school district are two completely separate entities, and neither of us can do anything about the other one, which is unfortunate in this particular case. We can pass on to the school superintendent how we're hearing from parents out there, which is a good thing, but I also think it's very, it would be better if all of the residents who are concerned about this contact the Harper Woods School District Superintendent. I've been told that there is a school board meeting tomorrow night, Tuesday the 21st, and I would suggest concerned parents and other residents go to that and really make your voice heard. I also want to stress along with that, which I think was mentioned at the last council meeting, is that due to funding and not having enough officers, we had to pull our school resource officer from the schools to street duty, road duty, or however you call it. That officer is still available if we get a call for it, asking for it, but we no longer have anyone on site, is my understanding. Is that correct? Okay. And last also is I have heard about a fire ambulance. Some concerned people have contacted and asked if that's a possibility, and unfortunately it's not in the near future. Earlier this year, council approved a contract with MedStar for, I think it was for 3 years? Or something? 5 years? Okay. So we approved that. It's something that would have to go for union negotiation, and it's something that we would need to have the money for in our budget. We have a budget meeting after this meeting, which I believe is open to the public, if anybody would like to come in and listen to that. I've been on the firefighter side since I started coming to meetings back in 2007. And I've wanted this to return. And it's terrible, actually, that we can't have it because of, not just because of those things, but because of finances. If you'll recall, maybe I don't recall so well, but our auditors were here earlier in the summer, and they had said that it looked that we might have a couple of $1 million, kind of a buffer for our help, but all of that money is strictly the CARES Act. So it means all of that money can only go to COVID-related projects, reimbursements, or what have you. So even though budget monies may look like we would have the money for that, they're already for specific uses.
Okay.
And just the payment for a truck and for more officers and for, paramedics, legacy costs, all of those would need to be factored in. So it's not just a matter of what we see per se in one particular line item. If I ever win a big lottery or any lottery, I certainly believe in it enough to have it. But when it ended, as I recall, because we were having equipment problems. I believe it was the truck or the ambulance, which was too expensive to replace. And also, with that ambulance service, we need to bill the person who had that ambulance service. Not everyone pays their bills. Not everybody can afford to pay their bills. As a result, I believe that once was an $80,000 backlog we have, if I'm thinking correctly, and that's kind of what put an end to it, because it's really difficult to collect monies from people. We have MedStar. How they collect it, I have no idea, but that's their problem. So I wanted to explain that also. So thank you.
Councilwoman Lyons.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. One, I just wanted to mention to, not only our audience, but let them know that the Michigan Municipal League's convention is happening in Grand Rapids, and a few of us council people will actually be there to, just learn different ideas about, how to improve the community, and it's always a really great event. Last year it was virtual. This year, you can expect a report from myself to just sort of talk about some of the things that happened there that were useful for the community to bring back. In addition, I just wanted to ask a little bit about what I understand that the Neighborhood Economic Development Coalition is becoming a 501c3, but I'm just wondering if some of those efforts, just looking at some of the meeting minutes from the beautification commissions, the Beautiful Neighborhoods Commission is a unit of the NEDC, and they do a lot of community cleanups, and it seems that now they're going to need to ask permission, the same as the crime reduction and law enforcement had to ask that same permission from the city. Will the beautification commission, then be sort of instituting their own community cleanups that people can join? Because I hate to see, doers in the community be disenfranchised in such a way, to sort of stifle their efforts when, the community has liked to see, over the years, particularly Ms. Nancy Schaefer, and all of the efforts she's been doing for years with the Beautiful Neighborhoods Commission. I'm sorry, the Beautiful Neighborhoods group. And so, yes, those are some of the things that I wanted to say, but to earlier, I made a motion and I wanted to just question things. And so why is it wrong for us as council people to question things? I think that Mr. Szymanski sort of made a comment about immaturity, and I just didn't think that was fair. And I just wanted to have that on record to say that it wasn't necessarily called for. And I just wanted to say that. And that is all, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Councilman Toussaint.
Oh, yeah, just briefly too, the gentleman left here, I wanted to make sure he realized that I was gonna, I've had questions before, like when we're gonna revise the city charter again, myself. In fact, the city sent me to a planning commission course that I took with the city, and that was the one thing they pushed, get the charter updated, work on that quite a bit. So I just want to make sure he didn't think I was insensitive to his questions at all. And also, I wanted to thank the council people that did come to attend our neighborhood picnic this weekend. It wasn't as attended as well as we wanted to, but I was glad that we did get the participation from and support from the board, from the council. And that's all.
Thank you. Councilwoman Constantino.
Yes, thank you. First of all, I do want to announce, I guess now it can be official, October 7th from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. For Fire Safety Week is going to be a public safety workshop. And you heard the chief talk about it. We're going to have, it'll be open to 40 people. We're going to still keep the number limited because of COVID and what have you. Although it will be primarily in the fire bay and outside where there'll be a lot of fresh air. So we're going to post that under the public safety part of the website so that you can go online and do an Eventbrite. We'll try to post the Eventbrite link in a few places. So you are the people that are attending the meeting, you are the people that are involved in our community, and so we would like to have you guys participate and be involved in our Fire Safety Week program. It's going to be excellent. We have Stop the Bleed. We're going to actually learn how to use one of those fire extinguishers and where to use it, and you know, have a lot of good things going on there. So I'm really looking forward to it. Like it's been said, we've been working on this program for 2 years, and so we really, really want to bring this out, roll this out in a proper way to the public. Just that we have to limit it to 40 people, and we're going to break it down into smaller groups. As far as the charter revision goes, I do feel like the committee dropped the ball on that. There could have been some kind of meetings to get that ball rolling. At the very least, there could be a list of ridiculous things that need to be changed in the charter. For example, like we have to post things in the newspaper, and the newspaper doesn't even come to all our residents anymore, when it really could be on our website, or it could go out by Nixle. It could be, you know, done in today's technology. So there's some things that are really outdated in our charter. Other things that we need to look at is clarification of the election of the mayor pro tem position. That has been, you know, really discussed a lot in the last few years, and that needs to be clarified. Redefining the public safety, not necessarily changing it as you see it. It'll be the same as you see it, but the problem is right now we've got 3 tiers at the top. And we've got the fire tier, the police tier, and the public safety tier. There's a lot of people very, very top heavy right now, and not a lot of people on the street. So those are things that we, you know, just some ideas that I had about the charter that we need to talk about. So put that in your hat and think about it. Also, there's been some kind of headbutting going on, and so I feel like we should encourage and reward our active volunteers. You know, there's wonderful people in beautiful neighborhoods in NEDC. There's wonderful people in the Beautification Commission. We just need to figure out who does what so that we can proceed. We have a lot of people willing to participate in cleaning up the community, and they're being squashed because
That's
some
not
kind
true.
of procedure, I don't know. But whatever it is, we need to find a way to let our active volunteers do their thing and reward them for it, not make them feel bad for it. So that's something that needs to be handled, I think, pretty close to immediately. The last thing I want to say is I was really disheartened. Our acting city manager's comments were inappropriate, I felt, at tonight's meeting. Putting things on the agenda, and especially the discussion of different ideas, is part of the democratic process. Just because someone has a different perspective does not make them immature. It makes them an independent thinker. The name-calling of the acting city manager that he displayed and the clear favoritism that he has shown is unacceptable. The city manager, acting or otherwise, should be impartial and at the will of the entire city council. Discussion should be allowed, but the city council is accountable to the residents of Harper Woods, and the city manager, acting or otherwise, is accountable to the city council, the whole city council.
Okay. Well, since I have the last word, I'll start with what you just said, with about the city council, city manager being accountable to all city council members. And you know as well as I do that that was not happening with our last city manager. So for you to sit there and say, draw this conclusion towards John, it's truly unfair also, because we know the reason that we have this debacle with the beautification committee from the NEDC and the beautification commission, which is sanctioned by our charter, is because of the way the former city manager handled that problem or circumvented that problem. The city commission, beautification commission, are the only group that is sanctioned by the city of Harper Woods to do anything with planning of any kind of floral plants or whatever for the city of Harper Woods. That is per charter. However, the former city manager disengaged them and used his beautification people program from the NEDC group. And he totally ignored those people in the commission and just allowed them to do whatever they wanted to do for the city planning and whatever. Now, NEDC group is not the first group or the only group that's ever done cleanup in the city of Harper Woods. Prior to Mr. Raker becoming city manager, actually the church and a group of citizens all did cleanup every year. So we're not going to, Mr. Raker is no longer here. We're gonna move forward. And I think we need to finally come together as a community. I am so tired of being put on this level because of the former city manager. He is not here, nor is he a resident of our community.
This doesn't have anything to do with him.
It's my turn to talk.
It really doesn't.
I've let you say all you all wanted to say.
But you're not speaking the truth.
I'm speaking now, Cheryl, and let me speak. It is time that we put aside and make our city move forward, as opposed to keep trying to carry the water of someone else that does not live in our city. Now, all of us here are residents, and we want the best for Harper Woods. That is one of the reasons that each and every one of us moved here or lived here. It's because of the cohesiveness and the closeness of a small town type community. And for you guys to keep trying to put blocks in the middle of what progress we're trying to make, it's just ludicrous. I call a motion for adjournment.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Councilwoman Hyde.
I'll make the motion to adjourn tonight's meeting. I believe it's at 8:21 PM.
Wait, are we having a?
We have the budget right now.
Budget?
No, you
No?
just got your budget
Okay.
books, that's all.
Thank you for clearing that up.
Is there support?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
That's my vote.